Just mine is not going to take longer time because you have the main speaker for today, Professor Musahara Herman. As I had started saying, this is a Bring Friend event. It's a new event at EPRN. The purpose of this is to allow networking of colleagues by sharing skills on selected topic. That is why today we selected a topic whereby we'll be discussing on networking tips for productive networking. We invited Professor Musahara as someone who is really highly experienced. He has been working outside the country with so many institutions, networking institutions, research institutions. So Professor Musahara has a wide experience when it comes to networking. And we do expect to learn from him today. What are the tips if we want really to network for a valid purpose? Because when you join, for instance, EPRN as a network organization, it shouldn't end with just signing up to EPRN. There should be tangible results from networking with the others. The results can be at individual level. What are the benefits as a person gaining from networking with the others, as an individual in the terms of career development, in the terms of increasing your experience, in the terms of increasing your performance, because you can exchange with the others how they do things, but also you can have new business linkages, new partnerships, new network, the new opportunity to expand your network. But the networking also can benefit to institution. If you are working for an organization, to join EPRN, whereby you meet with the people working from various institutions, you can link your organization to other organizations, then work together. Currently, in Rwanda, we say nta mugabo umwe, whatever you are sure you are capable of doing, you can do it when you are working with the others, when you are partnering with others. Now, what are really the tips, strategies, techniques for establishing a productive networking? We will have the moderator, Rizian. When she is connected, she will help us moderating. Also, we have Speaker Herman. Mine was welcome remarks, but before giving the floor to Musahara, I want to welcome our moderator, Rizian, to continue and telling us the plan of today. How we want to proceed, the agenda of today. Thank you very much. Over to you, moderator, Rizian, before we welcome the speaker.
Okay, thank you so much. I welcome everyone to these events. As the director has mentioned, we are going to proceed because the time is running. So our event is going to have three parts. The first one will be the introduction, as I was going to introduce our speaker. And the second part will be the presentation. He's going to share with us those tips, why networking, who to network with, and what is productive networking in a summary. And the third one will be the questions and answer session, where everyone will be free to ask any question basing on the presentation or the addition or comments. So I think this is all. And by going straight, we are with Dr. Herman Musahara, who is an associate professor in development studies. Till December 2020, he was director of consultancy services of University of Rwanda and member of the College of Business and Economics. He served at the former National University of Rwanda as Dean, Director of Planning and Development, and before the merger of high learning institutions, he was the acting Vice Rector of Academics and Research. He was Vice President and later Acting Executive Director of the Organization for Social Science Research in Eastern and Southern Africa, which is a network of researchers and faculty members in 19 countries of Eastern and Southern Africa. And on top of that, he is the senior member of EPRN. And as basing on this background, you can see that he is the most relevant person who is going to address to us at this productive networking. So if you allow me, I can welcome Professor Musahara. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Liziane. Thank you, Coordinator Seti. Thank you, colleagues, for having me. I see there are technical hitches, but I hope I'll not spend a lot of time. And I would ask Liziane to put this presentation, which is shared in a presentation mode. I mean, click that thing that shows for presentation. Yes, yes. And then you can, yeah, it's not. Anyway, if you can make it in a presentation mode. Thank you so much. I was questioning myself when I was invited, what would I say? What was the idea? And then I remembered that one of the senior members of the network and at my former university. So then I realized quite a lot of number of things that I was dealing in were related to networking, especially consultancies, research, and even as Seti mentioned, when I was away in Ethiopia, even before I realized that a lot of team that I was leading and consultancies involved networking. But my first slide was about thinking of what we get. I hope maybe people will stop leaving. I mean, I see left, because I think that is the issue of people think of what do I get there. So number one, in my opinion, first is how to share, to reflect on what would seem like an ordinary concept, but which to my mind, in my view, is very, very important, because especially with can you put on the next slide, please? Especially in this age of IT, you find that networking has become like a bread and butter. It has become a brick and mortar. It has become way of life. So then I also had the idea of perhaps thinking of who will I be talking to? Well, I could start with the EPRN members, but I saw that this is a session of bringing a friend. So there may be some who are not EPRN members. So I'll be concluding by talking about why we should, that the outcome should be joining, or even if you are in, trying to make use of networking. And I call them advice, because these days we rather facilitate for what is happening, what is talking about, because knowledge is available. The knowledge shelf is having a lot, but also I think it is important to know that there are more people who may be even better positioned to talk about network than myself. Then I think disclaimers when we are presenting, of course, this is under EPRN and I have used the logo, but I am the speaker. And again, the other disclaimer is that I don't claim to be the guru of networking. So please take this as facilitation and a starting point for you to improve what you are doing, or to look for ways of reaping or getting products, because productive networking, getting advantages out of your networks. Of course, it is important to note that when we are talking about, as I said, it's a complicated, loaded issue. Here we talk, originally it was about computers. You have heard of what we call LAN, the local area network. We have also talked about wide area network, and I think people were sharing computers. But now networking is very important in professions, in business, in academics. It has to do with meetings, conferences, using IT, getting here, getting advantage, and doing either academic or business or professionalism. Next slide, please. So, as mentioned, I think maybe we pose a few questions: what, why, who, where, and then what are the functions of networking? We can talk about the tools, and then I think there are two more issues that I think I'll bring in. What would be the things to be worried about? Being cautious. What are the cautions that need to be observed? I mean, things to overcome. And then also, as I said, concluding with our own EPRN. Next. So the next slide, as indicated, will be what? And it is exchange of information or services among individuals, groups, or institutions to cultivate productive relationships for certain gains. These are positive relations. These are issues of getting skills. These are issues of applying skills. These are issues of acquiring business. So I think as we go, don't forget that this is rather more complex than you may think. Because I think when you are meeting in EPRN or another organization, when you are Googling, when you are maybe using LinkedIn, I should talk about those. I think you are networking. But I think the theme of today, the point of today is how can you maximize? What do you get that? How do you become productive out of that? But of course, networks are also at organization level. So I think it is important to think of how can we maximize what we get out of EPRN or our participation in EPRN. Now, next, after what, you can talk about why. Why? That's what I have said in a brief. That is about getting resources, getting knowledge, acquiring expertise, or applying your expertise. These days, you may do networking also, looking for jobs, looking for consultancy activities. Can you please put on the next slide so that we go together? Also to cultivate interest, to cater for your interest, social interest. You have friends, you have either a reading group, you have maybe even, I think, socially, so many things. You may have a study group also and other social links. Next. There is also issue of compassion, mutual benefit, academic achievement. We have been doing a lot of networking to nurture our academic activities. I always recall when I was doing my PhD, I depended very much on writing to people who are there around the world, who have written on Rwanda, and then they're getting papers they produce. Of course, I go online and get them, get their addresses, and even during studies that I have been conducting, sometimes, especially during this COVID-19, I used very much connection by email to ask people to respond to my emails, I mean, with questionnaires, and it worked. Then there is also inspiration, motivation, investment. I think the next slide was supposed to add more about why. What would you like to be? So please, the next slide. I think the slide that is being projected is a few of the first things I mentioned. So I mentioned compassion, mutual benefit, academic achievement, inspiration, motivation, investment. So here, the last one is that, don't forget that networking here is also, it may also be about business in this world. It may also be not only academic or research or consultants, it may also be business. So I think here it is like just formally trying to explain what maybe is common to you, but I think to emphasize that there are benefits that you have to exploit. If it is in EPRN or in other network, or if you are not in a network, you join EPRN, and you definitely should reflect on what you have not benefited so far. I think this is the big issue. It is not written on my presentations. In networks, we always have this issue of what do I get in? I'm going to pay entrance fee, membership fee. What if an institution or an individual pays? So it is important also to start with yourself to see how you can use the network to enhance your business, to make a maximum out of it. The next slide, please. So the next slide is who here you may network with your friends, you may network at work, students, clients, peer members, for example, in research, members of EPRN, lecturers, researchers, participants in conferences. This is when you go online, you find this is the most popular way of networking, people in conferences, in meetings, and also consultants. And normally you'll have maybe mentors and others. The next slide, please, is about where. In general, we say everywhere. You can network everywhere. Online, physically, in meetings, in the conferences, at home, even in church, at church, after church, and so everywhere, anywhere. It is important to make sure you maximize all contacts, you make connection wherever you are, and I think where should be self-explanatory. Then I think what is next, the next slide is what are the functions? What do we get out of networking? So we get contacts. Make sure you get contacts. If it is in a meeting, we normally collect business cards or addresses. It's no longer fashionable to have a notebook where you put addresses. But in many cases, even if there are meetings, there will be a list of participants with their addresses separated. Make sure you keep those. Sometimes you need them. And then grab the opportunities that are there. Normally, we like to link, just as you link with friends, but in the industry that is of interest to you, the professional bodies, the community. So this is very important. And I think for some, I think this is not something new, because without networking, the functions of linking to industry, maybe the business would not be there, or their success would not be there. And the biggest thing for us, I spent many years in academics, it is about knowledge acquisition, knowledge development, knowledge product. You see, I'll talk about EPRN. I think it is important to make use of the functions of networks with regard to acquiring knowledge and developing yourself. Now, the next slide is about tools. There are many, I just mentioned a few. Maybe I should start with a few that I use that I have not put in there. I use, for example, very much Devex, devex.com, and I'm a member. I use also Development Aid. I use what we can say funds for NGO. So these are networks, but they are also places where you can either get benefits in terms of consultancies, in terms of linkages. I'll be talking about what you have to be cautious about, because for a number of years, I have been even making some payments to be premium member. Not only to link, but to be premium member, they open to you where you can get daily consultancies. Some even broadcast my CV, but I didn't like it. I never repeated again. But global, these are global networks. So global networks, and the others are the most commonly LinkedIn. I am a member. I'll tell you, Facebook, you have a different website. Make sure you look for websites. Make sure you look for users that are related to a profession. And then Google.com, people have started laughing at it, forgetting that we get a lot from Google.com. You ask Google.com, just as you ask another thing called Siri, they can answer you everything. The high-end, most popular now is Twitter. You can link to anybody in the world. And now we are using Zoom, Skype. The most common network these days is WhatsApp, the WhatsApp groups. Please don't look down upon them. They link you to various people, the Microsoft Teams, and maybe very, very generally, I would advise you, because I said tips is also for me giving advice as maybe experienced, that you have a lot now, the IT knowledge there. You may think you are IT literate. You may be using Word, Microsoft Word, Excel, and others, but there are so many softwares, there are so many apps that can help you link up with the people and network. And I think when I went for a PhD, how many, is it 16, 17 years ago, I remember I bought a small laptop and people were laughing at me. These guys are wasting their money. How do you, and you know, and unfortunately it broke down when I was finishing my PhD, but by then computers started being common. And now you find sometimes I'm surrounded by, I tried my laptops, and when it didn't work, I even used my iPad. You'll see that I'm using iPad. So it may involve a budget, using money, but please also make sure if it is templates, make sure if it is gadgets that can help you communicate, make sure you have them when you have the funds. It's another advice I should give you, and I think it is important to know that we are in an age of technology, and we are gradually going to the fourth industrial revolution. The next item that I want to talk about is about, well, it will not, it's about organizations. I'm thinking of EPRN, but as I told you at the beginning, when this is the next slide, when I was contemplating what am I supposed to talk about, I remember that for many, many years, I have been dealing with organizations. So here we are talking subjective as individuals, but a lot of benefits come from organizations. And I'm thinking of think tanks. If you like, for example, there is a popular area, a popular website. There was this guy, he has been training, and it is on think tanks. It's at so many organizations, even EPRN, I think, is a think tank now, where you can see, you can have knowledge products, you can have activities, you can have everything that you may be in need of, provided you know what. Professional networks, organizations. I used to be the liaison officer, the team leader for African Technology Policy Research Network, the Studies Network, and of course later the Social Science Networks. And you find there usually a lot of things you learn from there, either if it is not physical participation in activities, especially linking to experts and sharing, getting training. Sometimes you get discounts even in EPRN if it is training and other activities that involve a fee. I think we often see EPRN giving discounts. Now let us go to tips. all advice. I'll not be long. I see some people moving, but you may disagree with me. The first problem we have seen with people is being shy. You have to learn how to engage. Being shy, you say, what shall I write in this email? What shall I talk to this person during break? But I need this type of information. I need this. You have to overcome your shyness. You have also to know that you need this and that. You have to watch your dressing code. Sometimes it is not good to dress shabbily, but how you dress sometimes is how people judge you. Are you, let us say, a person who is, you may be finical, but you may be responsible, you know. I know times have changed. I'm not young. I know the type of dresses we have these days, but mind your dress and think if you, in this meeting or conference, this is the right type of dress. And when I'm talking about pants or trousers or jeans, this matters. If you have business cards, that will be very good. It will cut a lot of time on introducing. If there are badges, you don't ignore the badges that have your name. Some people know them. And then we have what I call entry points. Don't feel shy to prepare. In your mind, even before the meetings, how you will talk to people, how you will engage them. Maybe my name is this, genuinely it should be honest, not like those people who try to blow their own trumpet. They say, maybe if you are a driver, you have a head of people who would like to give impressions to people that they are doing big things. But I think there has to be a proper way of introducing yourself, especially a profession. If you are a student, you are a student. If you are a young researcher, it should be a young research. And I think I'll finish in a while. I see a lot of left. If it is not technical, please don't be desperate. I think we shall have time to exchange ideas. So the next slide is again on these tips, or let us say advice. Don't forget to offer compliments to people, compliments that if there are congratulations, if there are things positive about who you are talking to, to be positive is very important. Maybe not necessarily something that is weird, out of the ordinary. And then sometimes people, they find, please, the next slide, please. They find a little bit difficult to engage people, to talk to people. And so if you are a young researcher, or you are a student, or you are a young professional, you could join, have your friends, 2 friends, and then if you know someone you need to get more information from, a senior professional or an expert or member of a partner of the donor community, and then you shouldn't, if you feel a little bit shy, and you can use buddies, your friends, and make sure you know what you want, a goal, a target, and please always don't do it just like it has to be done. Maybe it is just talking stock shop. No, you have to follow up. There has to be some serious follow-up. This is an advice I'm giving you, that these networks have a lot of advantages, and you have to make sure you reap them. So don't do it just for the sake of it. And that's why we have meetings like this, to remind you of this, so that don't forget that there is a lot of soft expertise, soft knowledge, links, very important connections that you may need. Maybe I'm sorry if this I have to say, but all these are ideas I collected from different places. Some people may be in a conference or a workshop, in a retreat, and during pauses you are talking and you take glasses of wine and everything. So don't forget, sometimes this may change your behavior. And it is always better to be sober when you are talking serious business, and then you can have the bottle later, gradually, you can have it. But in a way, we have seen people during networking who become off their local, who become, basic, and even what they had done very well become affected. Positive, I said, but also remember to think of being a giver, not only, we be prepared to receive, but giver, if it is advice, if you have to show value of what you have, as in order to get. Don't look like you are networking to benefit, you look like a poor student who maybe, or young researcher who wants certain things or certain favors from organizations. It has to be, you should be able to offer something, to be ready to give. Now, the next slide, again, these are advices. I cannot spend more time because our time is limited. Being open-minded, try to create the impression that you are honest. And then don't forget to make sure you show your personality so that they cannot forget you, your integrity. If you met before, reintroduce yourself, remind them where you met, what you talked about, and make sure, give space. If you are talking, don't interrupt. Make sure people have time to speak. May say, excuse me, but you have something, and then you let people talk first. You have to always look, make sure you are a listener. Don't always, you have to show that you have value, you give, but don't look like you are, normally it is not good to be the know-all. You have to be visible. Visible, I think it doesn't mean to overdo it, but I think you have to be someone, you have to be of value if you're a professional. And then networks can be of various types. I talked about professional, academics, and friendship, and the others. So you may over concentrate on your own, but there will be a lot of things that you should always exploit when you are either meeting in conferences, or you are using email, or you are online, and so forth. I said compliments, congratulations, say thank you. Being polite is very important. And always think of the benefits in the long term. Improve your product if you're a business, or your service. Think of what you get that will help your business, or your research, or your consultants. Make sure really you can get benefits out of that. I'll repeat this balance of quality and quantity under the next, another slide. But next slide is about being professional. Try to master what you are doing and what you are cultivating. You have to make sure you have proper introduction. This I mentioned, you have to talk properly. You have to avoid vulgar language. Learn how to ask good questions. And I think it is related to the next one. You have to be sensitive to gender, religion, race, or other things. For example, some people don't ask you, ladies their age. Mind time of yours and others. Plan well and follow up. Now, cautions. Cautions, I said, things that you have to be aware of. For example, in the online networking facilities like the website, or for example, the most common LinkedIn, there is always an offer to link up, to accept invitations. The number of connections you get is not important. I think you realize that sometimes it will flood your link, and I think you have to know, what do I want out of this? If it is Facebook, and make sure you don't compromise quality by quantity. I have experienced that. If I had time, I will tell you. Sometimes you find you have people you don't even know, and some bring very funny things. take the initiative to manage your networking personally. I wouldn't mind advising documenting. Be wary of possibility of criminal actions, hacking. I have experienced that on many occasions. The Facebook, you find someone has taken your Facebook working, and they broadcast things that even for me, they were very humiliating, and I spent some time. Even now, when you look for me, you will find I use other names. And spend your money very well. I've been spending money on this international global, but sometimes I found, there is one time I found these guys were billing me on my credit card, even when I had stopped, but I'm lucky I was refunded. So when you spend money, make sure you get what you want. If it is consultancies or links, they have to be those. Otherwise, sometimes you pay and you find they bring things that are taking place in America, Australia, which are not even useful. And don't forget the advice of changing passwords, because as much as the IT is becoming very useful for networking, you have a lot of abuse of these tools of networking that we have mentioned. And be very careful about intrusion and impersonification. I still have to know why when I go, you can try to google.com, put my names in the google.com. You will see some people who have Herman Musahara as their names when the face is not me. I haven't known how, but it can be very annoying. And I have cases of someone who in Rwanda who told me he saw my CV being used without my permission in another organization. So be worried that although I'm advocating for network, make sure you manage, make sure you put away, make sure you mitigate, you prevent intrusion or even using your ideas. Ethical limits, there are people, as I told you, like in Facebook, there are people who are uncouth and cultured. They can, if they hack your email, or maybe if so. One thing is that for you, I think it would be good if you ethically, you observe ethical standards, don't do things that are not acceptable in society. And I think don't forget your integrity. Finally, I'm soon will be winding up. I think it is important to remember where we come from. And this is EPRN, Economic Policy Research Network. This is our own network. So if you have not joined, I would ask you to join. They didn't tell me to say that, but I think it would be a very good starting point if you have just been brought by a friend. So be active, be gregarious, and make sure you make use of it. You can be surprised that there are so many things that one can get out of these policy networks. You see, it has more than 1,600, and there should be more. But you have links to national, regional, academic, government, multilateral donor partners. So through EPRN, you can get linked to these, the meetings, the dialogues, it link you to that. They have diversified. I am a senior member of the organization, capacity building, training, research, publishing, consultancy, consortia, etc. These you can use. And I think the good thing with the EPRN is that it caters for both young and old, male and female. It has been also making use of IT even during technology to impart skills to be very useful in this fast moving age. So I think I was moving very fast. I said I would like to be a facilitator and exchange. I was following up the presentation, but I'm aware that some people sent questions. Maybe now I'll have opportunity to open and see. But I would like to thank you for your attention and your presence. Thank you very much. I hope you are hearing me.
Thank you so much, Professor, for the nice presentation. I hope that we all know at the end of this presentation why networking, what is networking, where to network, and I picked something very important and very interesting that we can use every place we are as a source of networking. So, and he shared also some tips of networking which are very important, including like we should avoid shyness. I mean, we should learn how to interact with every people that we meet, and also complimenting and also congratulating that it can be a good source of networking. So going straight to the questions, I think we may start with people who asked questions in the chat box so that we can continue with maybe people who raise hands. So the first question is from Musa Kacheche. He asked, Professor, I have a question, please. In most cases, initiating a meaningful conversation with someone who may be professionally advanced, such as yourself, may be quite intimidating, especially for young professionals like us. What are the pointers you can give to us to initiate small talk while networking? This is the first question. I don't know if we can finish them or if we can just go question by question.
I don't know, because I see many were thanking, but maybe you finish. If you have others, please bring them.
Okay.
Yeah, there are some more.
Yeah, there are many questions.
Okay. Go through 3 or 4.
Okay. So the second one is from Thomas. He asked, I just want to express my pleas. The network may be vertical while you need to talk with those more than your level, and forward while you want with that one on the same level like yours, and how you can advise us to increase that network with professionals like you while we are still graduates. And the third one is, sometimes it is hard to make an approach to highly successful people and organizations, even though it could be for mutual benefits. What should one do to make that step? I think these are 3 first questions that have been asked by different people.
Yeah, thank you, Liziane. Thank you, everybody. So I had asked you to put on the video if you want, and I don't know whether I could talk directly to people. Is it possible?
Yes, you're already. We can see you.
Hey, okay. I don't see myself.
We can see you.
Okay. So
Yes.
let me tell you. I hope I am. It's okay. Let me tell you one thing, Musa and others. That's why actually I started with a tip, with an advice about overcoming shyness. And to be fair, it is not. It's not only you. It's very relative, because whoever you are calling senior, let me talk about myself. And I was working for a large network that involved about 19 countries. But there would be these, especially the big think tank conferences. And you have really very big people from multilateral organizations. And you feel a little bit, how do I get access to him? What do I say? And so on and so forth. So maybe what I said among the advice, among the tips, is preparation. Don't worry about it. I mean, don't feel shy to prepare, and and you think about how you introduce yourself, and if you have friends, I mean, especially like from your office or your students, you go as 2, 3, I call it buddies. And for those who are professionals, you could have your business card, and you have to cross that bridge. I know it is sometimes difficult. Some of these are elusive. Some are even I don't know if I can say stubborn. Oh, sorry, the video went, but no problem if you can hear me. So this is also the same as the vertical. We always have this. Even myself, I remember like sometimes these people are just busy or maybe not accessible. One, because I remember I was looking for appointments to meet some CEOs on a project I was doing, and then they don't reply. They don't even. I ask for an appointment. Some I'm older than them, but some are very busy. Some I don't know. They have fatigue of linking up, or they think you will not. So you have to do it, and some will not go very well. But I think perhaps one of the meetings we shall have, because we have these institutions, we have very senior people, maybe we can also organize some talk about how senior people and CEOs and managing directors can learn how to handle young researchers or people who would be shy to meet them when they need them. And one trick is also to always look for the profit, the value, what you may give, not only what you will be profiting, because you are not going to beg, and so on and so forth. So I think this is also the same approach, difficult, so you can use any method that is available. I have found sometimes phones very elusive, but messages, an SMS that's well structured, or even an email, sometimes after some time they respond, but others, okay. But perhaps from me, because I have always developed a culture with my assistants, my researchers, my colleagues to be accessible, let me give you an advice that is off the cuff. You shouldn't be heartbroken or say, who am I now? They have not responded. We also face it. Sometimes genuinely people are very busy, or they don't. Some of us are even known. They say that. I remember people say, that professor, these are academic. We are more professionalized. We are, and sometimes maybe also in terms of wealth. So, in a word, and I think this is the challenge we should get from this talk: break the barrier, but break it properly. Because if it is not proper, even me, for example, I have some PhD students. Yesterday, I finished with my undergraduate dissertations, and sometimes they themselves are annoying. They send me messages that I find time wasting. I don't see why they should call me at odd hours. Why can't they use email, and so on and so forth? But I think that, and this should be one purpose of these talks. You have to learn the tactics of breaking the barriers. Why are others able? And I think very many young people I have met, they have moved very fast. Even those who were under my mentorship, some are international, away, and they are doing even better than some of the senior people. So, and maybe to turn it on the other side, I have a lot of young people that maybe passed me in my lectures or in my networks of these research and consultancies, who are not even willing to talk to me. So it is not the vertical only. Even sometimes they say, what is that old professor wanting to talk to me? They ignore me also. But I'm saying break the barriers, but You have to develop resilience, just as when you are doing consultancy or writing, sometimes they give you very bad comments or maybe some ideas, and you don't give up. You have to make sure you get what you want. And if you think the language was not very good, or these were very annoying, then you change. And then you have to look for mentors or some people who can advise you. I don't know whether I have answered you, but genuinely from me, I think these are there, but they have to be overcome, and I face them. There are some senior people. Sometimes it is because of problems, people who are busy, but it may be because of other reasons. Okay, over to you, Liziane.
Thank you so much. I think we may go to the last question in the chat box before receiving maybe those who want to ask questions by raising their hands. We have a question from Corneille. Some of the people struggle with the inferiority complex, which make them scared to approach the personalities to network with. So what could be your advice to such people? The next one is.
Can you repeat that? I was distracted.
Okay. He's asking, some of the people struggle with the inferiority complex, which make them scared to approach the personalities to network with. So what could be your advice to such people? And the next one is, how do you filter relevant networking from irrelevant networking? I ask this because at times you detect someone's personality does not match your interests. I think
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Is it okay? Thank you very much. I think, yes, I think this is what we are talking about. We are talking about this inferiority complex. This maybe is more subjective. It may be a question of, if it is a complex, it is curable. I think it is possible to rehearse, to look at what others do. But I think sometimes a superiority complex may be even worse for networking. I have seen people who think they are bigger than themselves, and then when they start trying to network, then you find they are nagging. But for inferiority, I have also seen it with, especially for me who was lecturing, dealing with young students and young professionals. You find someone is even scared to talk to you, and you feel, why am I scaring them? I remember there is a time when I was at the National University of Rwanda. I had this office, and people were saying, how do we get to the vice rector academics, and it becomes a problem, and those people around in the outside office, they prevented them. And then you feel inferior, you feel small. These are, I like this honesty. But if you feel you have inferiority complex, and it is very common, you feel you are small, you feel you are, I was talking about dressing, maybe you cannot dress yourself if you don't have the money to buy. I have some of my students who are not yet employed, who have not secured the jobs. They are trying to network here and there, but they find, oh, how do I say I'm unemployed, I'm looking for a job. Some do write me, and you find they're really feeling awkward. But I think maybe one way is to know how to try and avoid that. If you feel you have inferiority complex, don't forget that these I have been even told by my seniors when I was developing that, and this is very important in these times. So many people, so many things change. So many people, things change. And I'm telling you this because another inferiority complex that I know in my in my long career is about academic performance. Some people feel it's inferior, say, oh, my degree was not very good, I was failing, my English is not good. Well, it's very good to think of that, but if it prevents you, then you will never develop. There has to be, don't forget, and I have, if I were talking to you personally, I would give you examples of people who have changed, who have crossed the barrier, who have removed that bondage of inferiority. You have to, and that's why actually sometimes I like to these people who join network, maybe soft, like even prayer groups or mix, because it's one way that builds your confidence. You know, I have seen people who do not fear anything because they say, after all, we are all children of God, things like that. It's just an example, but one way or another, this inferiority complex has to be overcome over time, in a given time. If it takes your time, then I think the bus or the train will move before you get what you wanted. So maybe these are topics we can talk about: how to overcome inferiority, how to be confident. These are important. They look very simple talk, but they're very important. Developing confidence in what you are doing, liking what you are doing, being positive about what you are doing, having positive expectations and working for it. Now, filtering, the second question, the other question, I remember reading one presentation on networking, and this was important, but it was more on these organizations like EPRN. I think these help us filter. You can imagine these days using search drivers like google.com, like bing.com, Alta Vista, Yahoo. There are so many. When you want, maybe you click for a network. You say, maybe a network that can help in this type of business, maybe softwares or business consultancy. You will get millions. So you can spend the whole day looking at the response from google.com. So you have to learn to move out of that. Usually in google.com, you have a lot of gray material. So you have to know advanced search. You have to know which organizations fit you, because I say, like EPRN can serve the purpose of filtering. It has a mandate, it has a mission, it has a scope of activities doing. So don't apply to be a member of everything. I remember when I was young, I was always wanting to write to every organization that it looks like a network. And I find, and believe me, this was even before computers. I used to have my email box, and I contacting people here and there. But I think you have to be smart to know what you need. Otherwise, you may find you will waste time looking for what you want, and maybe you will not get it. And the good example is now, today, when you leave, when you get time, you can maybe get to know what is online on networking. You see millions and millions of responses, but then you have to clearly know what you want. I always see people digressing and forgetting their line of fire. So I think this is a very good point. And I remember in many presentations, especially that are meant for organizations, they would like organizations to actually assist their members and other people to know their focus and filter, because out there, I think we are in an age where knowledge sharing is abundant and available. So we have to know how to identify what we need and economize time. All these are like questions, but they are like also sharing with others what you are experiencing. And I think those who have not asked questions, you can imagine that these are good ideas that are coming from our colleagues. Over to you, Liziane.
Thank you so much, Professor. I hope everyone who has questions in the chat box has been content. And I would like to ask for anyone who also have a question, you can raise your hand so that you may address your question to the presenter. If anyone has a question, please, you can raise your hand. No one has a question? Janet, you can unmute yourself, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, sir, for the very nice presentation. I am Janet. I would like to ask, as you have seen in the chat box, Mr. Neo said, like, we have to show up. We don't have to knock the doors and network with those people. Instead, we have to do our project, then let our project present ourselves. So those you can't stay there and then those people know that you have project dolls. No, so is if you knock this many times and they reject your presentation, so what can you do, or what strategy can you use for you to meet them? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Janet. I think maybe I also answer it in an unorthodox way, because I think this is very common. And I think this is very common even in big time activities. Don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. If you knock and they don't open, I mean, of course, in the Bible, they say you have to knock and then they open. But I know there are also very big global success stories like those of people like Alibaba and others, you know, quite many around, where you find they say you may knock 99 times without being successful, but there will be always one where this will be successful. So if you give up and say, oh, it is not possible, then I think that will be a problem. But as I said, here is a time in our lifetime, and this you have seen during COVID-19. I'm telling you, I have done 3 projects during this time. And sitting from home, even now I'm sitting from home, even sending interviews to other countries, to Burundi, talking, even now there is another workshop going on in Kampala, but I'm not presenting. I think the use of technology has also helped us, that you don't necessarily have to knock physically. You can use it. Actually, it can help access, because I know in many offices, you may not be allowed in because of high gates, and also very, sometimes very, very strict secretaries. So number 1, advice, a tip, don't give up. Number 2, as advice, don't give up knocking, especially when it is possible. And if it is you are looking for business, there will be a question of making sure you know why you are not sometimes successful. Either you knock after sending an idea, but the idea is not very good. So you have also to make sure you are improving every time. For me, I think, I don't know whether I put this as a tip. In academics, also in professionalism, you don't have to expose what you're doing. Sometimes other people may even take it from you, but try to get advice, try also to get connection. Even at our age, sometimes you ask, you call someone, you say, hey, I would like to knock somewhere, and I would like to be, you know that someone, or maybe someone, I'm not saying the corrupt type, no, but trying to make a friendly link so that people can accept you. I mean, in a way, you can ask friends or help and say, this other guy is knowing you. I mean, how is it possible? I remember cases myself where I would ask people advice. How can I get these people? And then they tell you, you know what? Try to SMS or call after 7 in the evening. This person is out of the office and has time. If you try to knock or talk, then sometimes you'll be frustrated. These people are either busy or they find, who is this? A young professional. What does he or she want? So make use of facilities that are there, like IT, but also make use of friends, make use of other avenues, and don't lose hope. You have to develop a thick skin. Many people who are successful usually knock many times in, not always do they. Maybe I think again we could ask these institutions, if it is EPRN or other think tanks, to also learn how to open. I think sometimes they are also over closing, maybe because of floods of people. Imagine if you were to open the door for everybody looking for a small business, to be very difficult when people are doing a very big business. So I think it is tactical. It's not getting tired as advice and knock. And if they don't accept, don't lose hope and look other alternative ways. Okay. Hello.
So much. Yes, sir. We are getting you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much, and I hope Janet has been. She's content. So no one has a question. So I think it is all. Thank you so much for everyone. Thank you so much for your interaction. And thank you so much, Professor, for your nice presentation. If you allow, let me welcome again the Executive Director of EPRN for the closing remarks.
So can you put on the video for me also?
Lilian. Thank you. Thank you, participants, for contributing questions, additions to the presentation. This presentation will be shared to all participants for maybe was reading and use. And as I mentioned when I was starting this is a new activity which we are inaugurating at EPRN, in addition to what we call policy dialogue, public lecture, research conference. We brought in a new activity called Bring a Friend event, whereby we just select a topic of interest, and then I bring my friend, you bring your friend, we meet together to exchange on that topic. I believe today we learned a lot from Professor Musahara in regards to productive networking. And what I would like to request everyone is to try to think on how to apply the tips shared, the tips, the techniques which have been shared and discussed in this meeting. Try to think how you can, incorporate in your networking activities. You need even to revisit to see how your CV is written. You can maybe amend the CV, make it nicer. You need some time to check, to have a look again in your database of partners. You know, people you have their emails, you have their phone, classify there by station, by countries. You need to network strategically. I thank you for participating, and I have a very nice day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Setif. Thank you very much, Lisiane.
Yeah, thank you so very
Thank
much, sir, and all participants. We hope to see you again